somebody is creating the jobs out of that, which is why as our GDP has ballooned from 10.6 billion to 80 billion, our job ratio has really reduced from $100 to 70 jobs to $100 addition to the GDP to less than 10 jobs. So the thinking in the 24-hour economy is really to look at of all our production regimes and ensure that we revolutionize it by systematically and aggressively at the same time transforming our production. And in doing so, we have to take into consideration things that can be very useful in the circular economy. If we are promoting big industrial setups where our fridges are manufactured here, our air conditions are to be manufactured here, we're going to assemble electric vehicles, we're going to do massive manufacturing of our goods and services, packaging for export and so on, then we are creating an economy where if we don't use the circular economy approach, then it's going to be a disaster. And this is why this conversation is very important to us. And I will end by saying that within the 24-hour economy approach, where we are accelerating industrialization, there's enormous opportunity to create value by way of investment, entrepreneurs who would take advantage of this, to be able to occupy another stream of opportunities in economy, which is in the waste sector. So framing the waste as an important resource in our urban economy and through the 24-hour economy process is something that is very important for us.
Framing that waste conversation. In fact, that's why we put together this all-important conversation this morning, to bring all these minds together, complement that effort, both the public and private sector collaboration in changing the mindset and what has to be done in the first place to help in changing that mindset of seeing waste as a resource and not rubbish. There was a question on this side. There's another question over there. Let me just indicate that shortly we will be crossing over to the Bank of Ghana, but the conversation continues here. So stay with us, but we're live on TV3 and on 3FM 92.7. Yes, please.
Yes, good morning to everyone. My name is Nunana Agbomabiese. I'm here representing the Director of Environment from the Ministry of Environment, Science and Tech.
Please make the contribution or question short for me. Thank you.
Thank you. So to tackle the financing, as a ministry, we've started some work on an extended producer responsibility that is looking at the producer pays system. We think when we say the producer pays, what you are trying to talk about is whoever is producing it. But in effect, it's all of us who are going to pay for it. That's going to come. Yes, and so we are mainly looking at plastics, but then we are looking at also a multi-strategy approach to tackle all other sources of waste, which we see as products. And so we are going to be seeing all these products as waste. I think we spoke about plastics, automobile.
Indeed. So because of time, thank you. But you know what? We're going to be talking some more after this because we need to engage. Thank you. Thank you very much. There was a question here. There's a lady, and then there's a gentleman at the back, and then this. Yes, please.
Very much. My name is Engineer Jifa Agbafu. I work with the International Water Management Institute, where I run an innovation hub on circular economy. I'm also here representing the Ghana Institution of Engineer, Water and Sanitation Subgroup. My question is to the government sector. I tend to agree with Engineer Noy on the government's role. You know, we all have a role to play when it comes to waste management. At the local government level, they play a role. Also, at the national level, there is also a role to be played, you know. I have seen a lot of projects that has been implemented where the local level, the assemblies have done PPPs, they've implemented and all of that. But what the national government carries is the conversation of scale, you know. when there is a project and then at the national level there is a buy-in, let's say there is something on composting and national level, ministry buys in, they carry scale. Scale carries money, it carries economy, sustainability. At the local government level, they can't do that. They will buy in, they will market it to their farmers and all, and it stays like that. So there is really a role to be played. For example, a lot of private entities do not invest in some of these initiatives because they say it's not bankable, it's not profitable. They're not going to put their money in there. And Engineer Noy said there is a public good. If you do composting, you take waste out of the environment. There's ecosystem services, you know. What is the government doing to drive scale? The assemblies are doing really well. I have been in a project where assembly has bought the land, they've brought electricity, and the project is suffering because there is no scale, you know. So what is the government doing to drive scale? Intentional efforts. What does the Circular Economy Secretariat have for us in this regard? And my final point is on the source segregation thing. Let us not underestimate the effect source segregation will have on making some of these businesses sustainable. If you take waste, which is mixed, the business will invest in cleaning, sorting. It is money, you know. Awareness creation also lies with the government. You have the numbers to drive the scale. People don't understand source segregation. I run a schools program. The kids don't understand. We've taught them, and they say we need gloves to do segregation. I'm like, why do you need gloves? You're separating your own waste. Then you realize they don't understand what it is. You have to do role play. It's a big issue. So let's not underestimate the role you have to play. So I want to know what you are doing for us.
Perfect point. Thank you. Yes, let's put our hands together. Wonderful. You have to.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Engineer. Yes, I wouldn't say that it's only government's role, but I would say it's a joint responsibility. And that's why, for me, I tend to focus on what has the government done in terms of creating the enabling environment, because that's really government's responsibility. Create the enablers, because we all know that once we conceptualize waste as something that is money, then straight away everything else changes. So that if the local government, for instance, enters a PPP arrangement, right, with Colliver, for instance, and then they set up a segregation plant at the local level, there are incentives today available through policy and through the 24-hour economy secretariat to be able to ensure that when it comes to either taxes or the use of energy, rebates and what have you, those are in place. That's what government can do. However, when it comes to whether the project is bankable or not, that is the private sector to deal with the local government. And I believe that when it comes to waste, everything about waste is. I was in South Korea with the engineer, and he would testify that from where waste is produced in our homes or in the homes of the people to the end of it where the waste is processed into something else, that whole circular process, they do it perfectly in South Korea. And that is why we went there, right? To see what's happening in that jurisdiction.
So when you came back, what have you done?
And so remember I talked about policy, because from where I sit, that's what I have to be able to do. So government needs to put in place the policy, and then to enable, right, the implementers, who are the local governments, because that's where the people live. That is the thing that is also a mindset change, Alfred, that we need to get. Somehow in Ghana, we are very reliant on government, right? So everything they will say government, even though it's a local thing, they will say government, they will say the MP. No, it's not the MP. It's the district chief executive. It's the engineer at the local level, right? That is their responsibility. Well, but government
you carry part of the blame for creating your own problems. Because
I know.
It depends on what you tell the people. Because there are some things government can create the enabling environment for.
Yes.
Others, you have to take the lead.
So she was talking about scale.
For instance, that bit about helping Madam, for instance, who is teaching children how to sort waste. You don't have to create the enabling environment for her. You need to take the lead. so that if you're resourcing NCCE, for instance, and other collaborators like this, to take that charge of educating children on the need to sort waste, that is a responsibility you have to take.
Yes, it's policy.
Madam will only come in to support. You don't have to create an enabling environment for that. It's your sole responsibility to do.
I
So
think.
please take up that one.
Can I help?
Right?
Yes.
Can I help my brother
In a minute, so I'll go and take the last two questions.
Yes, since we are, so our sister raised a point about scalability. Now, where we have seen countries actually lift up, they have done so through a revolutionized relationship between private sector and government. You don't see government actually made this in a way that, only exception you see China, but China is zero government, private sector actually leading charge in many things. The notion view of scalability actually refers to the private sector taking advantage of a demonstrable opportunity and being able to move in. And the idea is to work with the private sector to the extent that to create scalability, they develop a bankable project, which he's talking about. And I think the problem we have in this is, number one, where is the funds going to come from? Even when you go to the bank, you're going to pay 35% interest rate, short-term tenor of loans. This doesn't work. So, and scalability would necessarily happen through entrepreneurs such as Backstop Boys and others that Caliber Boys we heard about. So we have to try and solve that problem. And in solving that problem, we'll have to create a fund that will enable them to provide patient capital, bring the capacity, and give them whatever it takes for us to scale up. And that's why in the 24-hour economy, we have set up the SME facility, which is going to provide this type of funds for you to do it.
Okay.
And so it is really not just the government. We need to stimulate the private sector to take up some of those demonstrable projects and run with it. And that's how we're going to make it happen. After all, we are importing $30 billion of waste into this country every year, which is creating jobs for somebody else. How about we really focus on circular economy, replacing all the $30 billion of that opportunity here, so we can provide a recyclable.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Christian Tete, and as part of environmental awareness, it is important that we inculcate the awareness at our basic school level, because at the end of the day, we can do all the discussions, quote figures, and so on, but if we don't tackle the issue from the foundation or the bottom, we will still have these challenges the next 20 years to come. So we might have a change of mind of character, implement policies that will catch up with the children from the scratch so that they grow up to be more aware and more conscious about these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And maybe, Backstop Boys, beyond what you're doing on the streets as well, any plan to also leverage your influence now to get kids or children get that habit of responsible disposal of waste, sorting, and so on?
Okay, thank you. So, like I said earlier, the end goal to everything environmental sustainability is an issue of mindset. If we can drive a mindset that makes us responsible and have a big heart for the environment, because the only constant that continues to make life beautiful is the environment. So we, in our own capacity, are going to schools, donating to them 3 dustbins with color codes to be able to practice education at that level. Because we believe that when young people understand this change we are talking about here, in 10 years, we'll have the results visible on our streets. It might take less of AMA or even government in itself to put in structures, because people will then see why they have to do what they need to do. Because first of all, we are letting people understand that oxygen is produced by trees. And therefore, if you are cutting down trees, you should know that you are cutting down your lifespan in itself. So aside from that also, we're also engaging in public educations where We go out there with our projectors depicting possibilities. If you see the street of Accra and it looks dirty, what is the option? How does it look at other places? So we show graphics of what it looks like elsewhere and what we have here. And then we all should begin to understand that, to be honest, malaria is not scared of anybody, and malaria can bring the whole life equation to a simple end because of a simple mosquito. So when we begin to engage people on a direct level, on, let me say, a patriotic level, because in all of this conversation, without patriotism and nationalism at heart, people who have the will to even make the policies will make policies that will favor them. But if you are all looking at nationalism as the end goal, then we will deliberately begin to raise people who are doing national stuff to be able to inspire a younger generation to step in and, be a bit selfless, because the truth is, one man's success cannot define a nation. It's a collective success of all of us that will make us a great nation. And we must also understand that the foundation to a better Ghana has foundations or has rules that we need to follow. And number one of that rules that will even drive a better economy is our sanitation. I want to cite an example of flooding at China Mall at Shama Motorway. The whole basement of the whole beautiful structure got flooded. If I am an investor and I sit elsewhere and I watch videos of Ghana and how flooding is quickly running over everything, I will not invest in this economy, because I believe that sanitation is the foundation towards a better Ghana. And to be honest, if we don't get our sanitation right and we're able to fight to $1, we economy suffer, because we are going to spend more, which eventually bring the whole economic conversation back to zero. So sanitation is the end goal, and sanitation is the starter towards any conversation sustainability. And we need to deliberately put young people in this game or this conversation, because we form the majority.
92.7. Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working,